will put back the link to the Discord in the chat. It's Jeremy who put it just sooner, but I will put it back here. So I repeated the message from Jeremy and the link with the Discord. Let me know if you have troubles to get there. We still wait for 5 more person. I will call them. I think we're okay. So whenever you want, whenever you're ready, welcome back everybody. And here is the Eldritch Funk.
Hey everyone, I hope you're well rested and welcome to the Eldritch Funk presentation. The Eldritch Funk is an investigation game set in the 1970s. So it's a first-person mystery and exploration game set in the 1970s, right in the middle of the funk music industry, and it will be developed for PC and consoles. A bit about the plot of the Eldritch Funk. So you play as a journalist who came to interview a famous funk music producer in his own estate about the vanishing of his singers. Thing is, you are locked inside the estate and you will stumble upon weird rooms, weird events, and encounters. And little by little, you will start to understand that some things should never be seen. There is something afoot in this place, and it definitely isn't from this world. Something eldritch. Our story is mostly character-driven. You'll get to know them during the course of the game, even though they are not really here because the estate is empty except for you. So you are the journalist, an innocent person who just happens to get locked inside the empty mansion. The producer is a wealthy, eccentric, but very secretive businessman who played with forces really beyond human understanding, and he should not have. The artists, the producer's artists, were spending some kind of professional vacation in the estate to record their new album, but they're gone too. And finally, there is beneath the estate, the entity. That is a cosmic being whose presence just pours through every room of the estate, and you'll definitely be seeing weird things all around. So most of these characters were present until very recently, and their presence is still lingering around the estate through tapes, through notes, and through personal effects they left behind them. And the player will get to know them even though they're not here really anymore, and you will have to bring whatever happened to them to light. Now a bit about the game pillars. So our key selling points are mystery, exploration, and the 1970s. They are all linked by the game space, the estate. So for the mystery pillar, we have investigative journalism. You have to search for the truth about what happened to them and what really is this cosmic force. And we are really building our narration with iceberg writing. So we have a whole backstory for the entity, for all the characters. Then we have exploration, and for exploration, we have really a concept where we want the journalist to be some kind of empty shell main character. So he's, well, they are non-gendered. They don't have a name or an age. They're really just the journalist, and you are, they are the player, sorry. Then we have the 1970s with really some kind of aesthetics, retrofuturist aesthetics set in the funk music industry with really mid-century modern ambience and thematics with like representation. So each character will have their own themes, such as what it is being so wealthy during that time and what can someone really that rich do with his life. Civil rights, cultural appropriation, and women's rights, because most of our characters will be women. So there are really some kind of topical stories we want to tell about the 1970s. Now, also we have some elements that are really overlapping with two pillars, such as the fact that we are doing some kind of Metroidvania of knowledge, a term on which we will come back to later. We want to set a Lovecraftian atmosphere and space, and the estate is really at the crossings between exploration and the 70s, because we are showing some kind of really eccentric wealth. Really, it's so odd to see someone. What could someone so rich do with his money? Then it's important for us to explain what our game is not, because we have a lot of inspirations and it's easy to make some misconception about the Eldritch Funk. Our game is not a horror game. We are speaking about cosmic horror because it's really a wording taken from Lovecraft, but it's more like being afraid of what's beyond human understanding. Our game is not a point and click or an action game, even though there are some creatures in the mansion. And it's not a rhythm game, even though it's about funk music. And our main inspiration is Outer Wilds in its structure, but it's not a game built around a time loop, contrary to Outer Wilds. Then the game is funky, but it's definitely not quirky or funny. It's very serious and it can kind of makes you a bit anxious. And finally, even though our game is Lovecraftian, it's not a Lovecraft adaptation. It's more about taking the cosmic horror themes and cosmic beings into account, but not adapting one of his works. Alexandre, I will now let you speak about the game space.
So the structure of the game space is inspired by Metroidvanias. Each zone of the estate will have a different feel, atmosphere, and art direction. The player will be able to explore interconnected zones such as the music studios, bedrooms, a living and reception area, a library, and an exhibition wing. But instead of hard locks, physical keys, the progression will be limited by what we call knowledge keys. So the rhythm and the structure of the game will be dictated by the retention of information and the moment knowledge is given to the player. The actions the player can do are not numerous, but they are all very useful. The player can walk, and the player can close their eyes, one eye with each trigger of the controller. But they also have various tools at their disposal to help them solve the mystery. They are the player's main way of interaction with the game space, and we're going to see them now. The tools. First, you've got the Polaroid. It helps you take pictures and see things you could not see otherwise. You also have a notebook. It allows the player to know what has been going on so far in the inquiry. And finally, you've got a recorder. It helps you record and modify sounds, as well as listening to audio logs scattered all around the estate. Every good mystery starts with clues scattered around the house. Those clues allow the player piece together with their intuition and luck to crack a knowledge key. Once they've obtained a knowledge key, the player can go through multiple locks around the house. Let's make that more concrete with an example. In this example of mystery, we can deduce, thanks to the clues scattered around the house, that there is something strange about the yellow wallpaper in the office. In this example, the clues are an audio log, a note, and a picture of the wallpaper. Pieced together, they form a knowledge key. This knowledge key is the understanding that the player, that this paper allows you to pass through the wall if it is on, if you walk backwards without seeing it, or if you close your eyes. We can see it in this prototype GIF. The player can walk backwards through the wallpaper or close their eyes, each eye represented by a black rectangle, and then they can walk through. So once they've discovered the mystery of the yellow wallpaper in the office, this unlocks a secret passage there. But it may also unlock a lot of new rooms all over the house, anywhere this very wallpaper is onto the wall. Mysteries such as the yellow wallpaper allow the player to learn something new that makes them reconsider the way they perceive the game space and the navigation within it. This is what we call a knowledge key. The game space did not change. Doors were not physically opened within it. The only place doors open is within the player's brain and perception of the game. We developed a graph system on Draw.io inspired by Mark Bronsbosky's graph system. We called it the mystery tree, and it will allow us to keep track of the dependencies between the mysteries and will prevent us from making the mistake of putting a key after a lock. Also knowing that the key are not physical and we are just scattering clues as level designers. And this is working hand in hand with the conception of the estate plan. So now we're going to talk about art direction.
Thank you. For the artistic direction, we choose to be between the semi-realistic and realistic style. The light will have a great importance in our game, although. Here you can see some inspiration we have for the different rooms of the house and their atmosphere. The player will have to visit those rooms to uncover the mysteries that lies behind the walls. So we need that each room is easily recognizable. The 70s designs are really colorful and have ornate shapes and patterns. Those particularities will help us to create our house. Also, we have distinct idea. We have the idea that each room or a distinct place of the room will have specific color. Those colors will help the player to know where they are. And here you can see some work in progress we have, and we have, put them on Unreal. So now about the sound direction.
Okay, let's talk about sound. So in the sound direction, there will be like two parts, the part about sound design and music. For the sound design, Laurent will try to work with uncanny sounds. So he will try to provoke anxiety and try to alternate between some detailed sounds and some blurry sounds, just to put an emphasis on what the player perceives. For the music, he will work with noisy soundscapes and some real music. So the noisy soundscape will try to work between generative, percussive, and atmospheric music, and there will be a lot of funk extravagance. For the sound design, the ambiances will evolve a lot. Every room will have its own unique atmosphere signature, audio atmosphere signature. A lot of the sounds will be processed with old effects to put an emphasis on the 70s ambience and try to have like an old sound. But there will be a lot of effects that will be experimented to create some strange effects and with, for example, tremolo, harmonic, splitter, flanger, for example, just to create uncanny sound. He will take inspiration from Outer Wilds and Gone Home for the ambience and how the sounds are treated. From the Lost Highway for the strange claustrophobic mood, and Suspiria for the music to create anxiety and tension with experimental sound design. So we have some audio we can listen. So for the diegetic music first. That are diegetic will have this classic funk music style and will be heard through vintage and in-game diffusion setups. And for the extra diegetic, it will be strange and conceptual, and we will try to have no limit for material and creation, so it will not take the limit of the epoch, for example. And now let's talk about what we used to create the game.
So let me introduce the creation tools we used to create this game. So on the left, you can see the softwares we are currently using to make our game. So you may recognize Unreal, Wise, Blender, Maya, or Substance. We will also use Perforce for the versioning. And on the right, you can see our productivity tools. We are using Chiara, Confluence for the lore building and wiki of the project, and Discord as our only communication tool. So who will be the target of this game? So as you can see, the core target is made by young adults from 18 to 30. They're supposed to be regular players interested in narrative games and Lovecraft lovers. Our game will be made for indie enthusiasts, as we're aiming for a triple-I scope. It will be a premium game that won't exceed 25 euros. We're already thinking about DLCs or adding content little by little according to the community returns. And concerning the platforms, we are making it for PC, and if we wondered which console we would choose if we could only choose one, so it will be PS5. One of the huge opportunity of our game is a word-of-mouth made community. So it's a thing that we want to work on a lot. And we also have some ideas in construction for a live-action trailer or something when we will have unlimited budget. So thanks for your attention. And if you want to meet the team, here we are.
Thank you. Who wants to go for first question? Marion, go ahead.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
So thanks for your presentation. I'm sold. I really like the ambience and the themes. You mentioned at the end that your target was young adults 18-30. Why are you not targeting a younger audience? Is there a reason? Like, do you plan on including adult content? You mentioned that it would not be a horror game, but any reason in particular why you're not targeting a younger audience?
Yeah, we are not targeting younger people because of the content. The way we think the game, it will be between PEGI 16 and 18. because of what happened, because of the mysteries. There will surely be some drugs in the game because of the music production, and it's not totally defined yet, but that's one of the points that make us choose this target.
Okay, so some adult themes then.
Thank you, Marion. So Grégoire and Sven.
Yes, hi again. Thank you for the presentation. I also really like the theme and the aesthetics that you're going for. Two things. Well, the first one is more of a reflection because I had the answer later on the presentation, but you didn't tell me that was an FPS game. Like at all. I saw it in the prototype for Closing Your Eyes. That's a bit late in the presentation for me to actually picture what I'm looking at in terms of experience. So yeah, I would have liked this to be a bit more clear. And another thing is, it's a bit weird to me that you're going for the 70s and like a kind of a billionaire producer estate kind of thing, and then ruling out fun and quirkiness. Can you elaborate a bit on what you want to achieve with this?
For the first question about FPS, it was in the first slide that we told it was a first-person adventure exploration game. Of course, maybe we did not put an emphasis on it, so maybe it was unclear. But it was the idea of, because we will be in an interior space, it could be important to have like a camera that is really simple to manage for the player. And we don't want to put an emphasis on the character, but to have an empty shell that the player will just control. And for the second question, I didn't understand everything.
So yeah, for me, the 70s and the music industry at this time, and being like a billionaire producer of this kind of music, it's by default something that is really quirky to me and inspire fun and a little bit of a, I don't know how to say this in English, so c'est un petit peu décalé comme endroit.
Extravagant.
Extravagant, voilà. And so when you're telling me that you don't want fun and you don't want quirkiness, it kind of made me cringe a little bit, saying like, how do I get into your world then? What are you showing it? Why are you showing something to me that is so colorful and so weird? And at the same time saying to me it shouldn't be fun.
If I may answer that question, we are looking for some kind of opposition between when the journalist arrives in the estate, you know, the producer and the artist, they are really eccentric people. So everything is, of course, really 70s, core 70s, like colors, and they are partying a lot, and they are really close to each other, and it's really, really lively. But we want to put a real contrast between their attitude that was kind of a bit unreasonable sometimes. You will discover that through their own stories, but really a contrast between that and the fact that now they are gone because they made some stupid mistakes all. And even though it's really colorful, it's some kind of anguish colorful, because there is a cosmic entity now, and we really want to create that kind of opposition between the player's heart. Like, he's expecting it to be a bit maybe colorful and quirky, but it ends up going completely wrong. I don't know if I've made myself clear, or if my team wants to maybe elaborate on that.
Is it like Bioshock?
Yes, exactly like Bioshock. Like, it's really like it was a huge dream, and it ended up just collapsing, you know.
Sure.
Just to put another point, when I pitched the game, I was taking inspiration from Bioshock, but also on Disco Elysium and Deathloop, because it's all of those games that put really like weird visuals with what they try to show for the player. because when we think about an exploration and mystery game, we always think about something really dark and really that is not visually original for the medium. So I wanted to put something original, and we all wanted to create something new. So this is why we choose the 70s period, and yeah. So it can be weird, but we will try to remove this quirkiness, but try to have some funky elements that will be relevant for the experience.
Yeah, I think that's cool that you're trying to create an opposition between those concepts. It's just from how it was presented, I understood that you kind of shied away from it, and I think you're going to need to get into a little bit of quirkiness to get into the opposition later on. And if you manage to do that, then great, you know.
I have a question regarding the investigation by itself. Is it only based on clues and you won't be able to meet anybody else? Like, are there other characters living this world? Or?
What happens is that we really want the player to kind of feel really alone. And in the whole design game, there should be also creatures that lurk around. And they are actually the characters, spoilers, who have been transformed by the cosmic presence. So they are not human anymore. So you could say that, yes, you kind of meet the characters, but they are not here to communicate with you. Definitely not. And you will only get to know them and get attached to them through whatever they let behind them, their notes, their diaries, photos, recordings, and stuff. And we want to create some kind of, maybe make the player nostalgic about those people he actually never got to meet in person, but only got to know them through what they left behind them.
In terms of influence, we've got the Metroidvania, the Outer Wilds side, but we also have the house exploration narrative game side with games such as Edith Finch, Tacoma, Gone Home. So we're really going to try to mix those two genres together to create a unique experience centered around this house.
Yeah, but for instance, in Edith Finch, sometimes you are alone exploring the house, but then you come back into sequences which brings you back in time where you can meet other people that they're here because you are in the past and they're here. You know what I mean? So actually, my question is more like, are the clues the only narrative way to tell the story to the player?
There will be the clues, but also the interactions and environmental storytelling. We also have the clues are not only in paper form. We have a lot of sound in terms of clues, and the architecture itself is going to try to tell its own story.
All right, thanks.
Thank you. Simon?
Yes, thank you for the presentation. Yes, Simon from Ubisoft here. I have a question. Maybe I missed a point. I didn't understand well the independent closing and opening of the eyes and the consequence in terms of gameplay. Can you just briefly explain to me again?
So you've got the two triggers at the back of the controller. Those triggers, they can know how deep you're pushing them. And so with the left trigger, you're going to close your left eyes. With the right trigger, you're going to close your right eyes. So this could create mechanics about closing both your eyes to do things like you can still walk while having your eye closed. In the example, you can pass through a certain wall when you do that. You could imagine walking through the fire in a chimney too. But you can also, for example, wink. For example, you've got a painting or a big picture that winks at you. If you wink back, poof, it teleports you on this picture. We really want to create, because we have an empty shell character, we wanted to create this kind of physical link, this physical immersive link with this empty shell character through something that is the vision and the perception. And I think it goes well with the detective fantasy also, because we've got tools, but a detective it's also about seeing. And for example, if you squint your eyes, you'll be able to zoom. It's to create this link. We've got this. We chose to make an empty shell character to really create the player as the detective, rather than the player playing as a detective.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Laura?
Hi, yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Hello.
Yes,
yeah,
we
okay.
can.
Yeah. So Laura from Pledges, great presentation. So congrats, and great reference for Outer Wilds. It's an awesome game, and I think you can learn a lot from it. I have a question regarding the exploration and the different clues. If I understood correctly, the player will have to learn things in order to move on. So my question is more about how will you get there? Like, will it be like a puzzle, and the player will have to experiment and find what is strange and what is this puzzle? Will it be really concrete, like one puzzle, two puzzle, three puzzle, or will it be more smooth? And it's more about the experiment. My question is more about the experiment aspect of your game, because if you have to learn things in order to move on, you will have to experiment a lot of things. And if the experiment is not clear, or if it's too clear, the balance will be difficult to get. Have you thought about it or not?
I don't know if Chiara, or if I answer, I can answer if you want. I don't want to answer all the questions. It's hard because we're both game designers, but we're remote, and for this. We try to, at this point in the development, we cannot answer exactly how the acts of the game are going to be and how open we want it to be in terms of exploration. We thought so that our mystery tree and the dependency between the mysteries, we thought it so that we could do it the most horizontal we could. So it's possible, but then of course. Solving 10 mysteries at the same time is a huge. We're asking a lot from the player, and for that we have this tool, which is the notebook, which is mainly a tool we're going to develop with the ergonomy and with the play tests, and we're really going to try to make this tool very useful without telling the. Without giving away the mysteries, but something to have all the important information in one place, and something very pleasant to navigate. Also something that allows you to stop the game for one day and come back and know where you are. But then this question of how many mysteries can be done at the same time is very up to how we want to structure the game and how. And which moment of the game we are in, which moment of the story we are in, and what we want the player to feel. So we thought about it. We don't have an answer to how open or how close it's going to be, because it's going to depend. It's too early right now to know exactly. But it's the tools we created with Chiara in game design is really so that we're not stuck in too open a game or too close a game.
Okay, yeah. So the notebook will be a little like the map on Outer Wilds, where you have all the destination and all the important information, but not completely, and you still have to go there and experiment and try stuff before getting to a new level or a new place. That's it?
Yes, exactly.
Okay. Well, I can't wait to see what you do there. Thanks.
Thank you, Laura. I think Simon wants to add something. Go ahead.
Oh no, sorry, I didn't lower my hand.
Oh, I thought you put it back. Sorry. Okay. I don't know if somebody else has a question. No, nobody is reacting. So let's thank again the team. Congrats for the presentation and thanks for the exchange. So a round of applause again. It's difficult from here. Thank you. And we will welcome the next team, which is the 5th interaction. Thanks again. You can see here the building of the school, which is called Le Nil.
Okay. So, welcome for the presentation of our game project called The 5th Interaction. The 5th interaction relates the dive of space explorer within the depth of a derelict planet. He will have to confront its abyss and wide open areas of void to find a way with no other help than the quintessence, an alien artifact she possesses that allows her to interact with the planet itself. So the 5th interaction is a cosmical parkour game which takes place in a Metro Lake-like structure. It's a solo first-person adventure game. And we aim to bring this game for space and platform lovers. We also aim to use the platform consoles and PCs. And concerning the duration of the game, it's situated between 10 and 15 hours. So I let the floor for Thomas.
Thank you. For the 5th interaction, we intend on creating an anguish experience. We really want the player to feel the fear of the void and for them to feel the monumentality of the spaces they're going to traverse. All of this game is going to take place using a very demanding gameplay that we hope is going to be extremely enjoyable with high risk and a high reward. The game takes place on what we simply call for now the planet. It is a living entity, always in motion, breathing, moving, in following its own logic, and it has sort of its own consciousness. The player is going to be able to discover and find and interact with inhuman architecture that is monumental. Here are some of our references. We play a lot with geometrical shapes and lighting and contrast, and also big chasms and void. we started concepting the visual and the audio direction. Here is some production that we already made. We want on the planet, we want to have a large structure that is gigantic. For example, this is really immense and the player would be almost invisible on this scale. This is really big geometrical shapes with almost crystal-like formations. And the stone material are going to be cracked because of the constant motion of the planet. We did some research on the minerals that we're going to use, and these are some of the tests we did on Substance, ranging from volcanic stones to silex to other weird and bizarre materials that we plan on using on our platforms, on the ground, on the ceiling, and the architecture. So the player is going to embody a character, and so far we have defined her as a survivor. She is acrobatic, strong, both physically and strong-willed, but also in this context on this planet and in her spacesuit, she is fragile. She is very lonely, facing incredible odds and terrifying obstacles. And we also have determined that she has done terrible things in the past. On the right of the slide, you can see some of the concept art we did for the spacesuit. We are trying to evoke agility and freedom of movement, while also keeping in mind that she's going to have to be resistant enough. Because of the parkour game, she's going to perhaps rebound on surfaces and have many shocks, so it has to keep its integrity for security. The character, we know that she has been to this planet once before, and for the game, she comes back to put back what she stole, the quintessence. It is a powerful artifact, an alien object, and it is part of the planet. The character is going to use its unwieldy and dangerous power, perhaps even dangerous for her, because it is her only way to succeed. And later on, we're going to talk about how. For the audio direction, we have 5 main elements. The first one is the spacesuit. It is the protagonist's vessel, and it also is what constrains the player. So we have a lot of work in sound design to do to evoke these feelings. The player is also going to traverse monumental spaces that are beyond the grasp of the character. So we're going to play a lot with reverberation, echoes, and other strange effects to emphasize the depth and the big spaces. The quintessence and the planet wield terrible power, and we have to make it feel to the player that it is very raw and uncontrollable. For the music, we intend on using it as sort of beacons in the void, both in and out of diegesis. On the right, we put some of our extra diegetic music references. These are very noisy sources and complex inharmonic and atonal music, but also some complex orchestrations of acoustic instruments. We are trying to evolve between the two. Finally, we have dialogue during the game, through which we're going to have the main character speaking, and this is one of our main vectors of narrative, of narration. And we're going to have to work with voice actors and treat their voices through helmets and through the comms. I'm going to leave Ika talk about the rest of the game.
Hello. So I will talk a little bit about the game design. In general ideas of the game design, you can see here first some main references for us. Concerning the parkour part, we are thinking about Mirror's Edge and Ghost Runner. We made some benchmark on it. For the atmosphere and the Metroidvania vibes, we are thinking about Metroid Prime Control, and we are also thinking over making some phases of game in 0G. So we've played a lot of Outer Wilds, Subnautica, and Prey, because Subnautica we are taking inspiration from the deep sea environment. What are our main intentions for the game design? We want the player to feel lonely and to face and be confronted to the void, and we want him to alternate between exploration phases, observation, and execution of a plan within the parkour phases. So the main challenge will be coming from the parkour. We want it to be demanding, and we want the player to go into some kind of a stream of a flow. So yeah, that's quite challenging for us. axing for now the game around two mechanics. First, of course, the parkour that relies on the player, the character abilities. She can jump, walk, run. She can use retro boosters that are on her suit. She can make wall run, wall jumps, but it won't be enough for her to survive only thanks to those abilities. Just a quick talk about the game feel. We wanted to make the player feel the acceleration and the speed of the character, and also the confrontation to the abyss and maybe the vertigo. So the character won't be alone in this quest, in this journey. She will have the use of the quintessence. The quintessence is some kind of an alien artifact that influences the physical laws and helps her to interact with the planet and the level design. As in a Metroidvania game, the quintessence will gain power over and through the game, so it will allow the player to gain access to other areas of the game, of the level design, but each abilities will have to be mastered by the player, otherwise it can be unforgivable. So yeah, it asks the player to master the own abilities of the character and the quintessence. Some words about the level design. You can see here some concept art we've done about just the mood and what we want to express through the level design, the fact that there are some kind of a void and gravitational aberration on the planets. And we know that the alliance between Metroidvania and parkour game can be quite challenging, so we are thinking over it right now. We are in conception phase. We want an evolving perception of the world. We want the player to enter a room in the beginning of the game and don't see maybe all the opportunities one room can offer. And as he goes through the game and gain abilities, he will be able to explore the whole game. We want the level design to be unstable, and this instability will emphasize the danger and force the player to move and to evolve within the level design. And we want also the level design to express the eeriness and the mystery of this planet that is, for now, as we think over it, a character, a real character of the story. Just to talk about the technical environment, for now we are making the game on Unreal, we are using Perforce, and we are, our programmers are rebuilding the gravity system with Unreal Physics. And I think we have a video that we can show you now, just to show you a little bit of what they've done. So, yeah, I think you see it. Okay, the video will be available later for those of you who can't see it. So when you're on the platform, you're in FPS camera. You can jump and act as in a classical FPS. But when you're in the air and when the gravity is upside down, you have a 360 pictorial camera. So it's only a concept, but we are working on it. Okay, I just really don't have anything to say. Okay, so I will leave Nicolas talk about the marketing position and
Thank you, Gil. Concerning our market positioning, we consider as a main aspect that it's a Metro parkour game, because we hope that it's the first time, I think, one of the first time that we can mix those two genres. And also concerning our key selling point, the fact that this takes place in a gravitational interaction is a strength for us too. And we try to to find a balance between exploration, platforming, agility, and curiosity in all the strong narrative aspects. So to sum up what has been said before, so our strengths are, yes, Metroidvania genre in an immersive spatial experience. And with that, we hope to find the opportunity to attract players who like both action and contemplative games. We know that it might be challenging for some players, but the main threat for us is the motion sickness issues. So that was the presentation of the fifth interaction. Thank you for your attention, and we were happy to answer a question if you have any. And Thomas, yes?
Yep. I just wanted to add, because we are through Teams and the video sometimes is a bit framey and we couldn't make you listen to good quality sound, you can find the audio files on the team and the video on the team files, also on the Discord, the channel of our project. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Thomas.
Thank you. And the first question goes to Frédéric.
Hello everyone. I have a few questions. I can hear myself in the amphitheater, but it's not a problem. From your pitch, you are making a cosmic parkour in which you have fear of the void. So it means a lot of gravity things, and it made me think about the movie Gravity. But then you talk about a planet, ceilings, walls, and grounds, and when you talk about that, I felt a bit claustrophobic, which is the total opposite of the void. So I didn't understand at first where you were going. And then you talk about the quintessence, which is supposed to change gravity, things around. And so I really waited for a lot of explanations on how the quintessence could modify the full setting of the location. And I didn't get any example. So actually, I'm a bit lost in the proposition on the cosmic parkour, which feels quite closed and not linked to void, actually.
Okay. So to try to answer that, we have different parts of the game. Some of them are going to take place on solid ground and with a more a less dangerous environment. With the big fear of the void is from above, because we plan on the planet to have sort of a very low atmosphere, so that if you jump too high or if you gain too much height, you might escape the pull of gravity from the planet, and you might be attracted to the void above you. And for the parkour elements in low gravity or zero gravity, we intend on having big spaces with parkour elements in which we can have voids and immensity and fear the depth and the voids. So it's different phases of the gameplay in which the fear of the void is above and sometimes below you and all around. It's a lot about losing control in the depths of space. To touch on the quintessence, there are a lot of possibilities for mechanics, and we are still trying to center around a few, especially because we have to pick our vertical slice, and we have to be extremely precise around that. A lot of things that we have talked about revolve around electromagnetic manipulation and gravity manipulation, and the idea is to complement the capabilities of the character as physical capabilities, but also the spacesuit aids, like the thrusters and everything, so that the quintessence is going to allow her to attain far enough objects and to change gravity enough so that she can keep on going and not fall to her death, or to just stay in the middle of nowhere and have no hooks or grasp on anything, so that she wouldn't be able to move anymore. So the quintessence is helping her to evolve through big spaces, and that's part of it. Obviously, we have to precise more as we go through, and we hope that you can trust us on that.
Okay, thank you for the answer. It's just that if you want to convey void, you should get rid of what's under your feet, which is actually the ground or the planet. So that's just my point at the moment.
That's
Thank
noted.
You.
Thank you.
Thank you. Davy?
Yes, I have two questions. One quite straightforward. Why do you want to redevelop the physical engine? What will be the competitive advantage to do this? Because it's a heavy task. And the second question is, what are the achievements when you play? Is it just the timing, not to fall, pick up some items, dodge some enemies, whatever? To understand what will motivate the players to achieve and finish the title and stay engaged.
So I can answer part of that. I'm just waiting to see if someone else on the team want to talk about the technical part. I just wanted to talk about the rest of the question before, so that we swap the microphone. For the rewards, there's a lot of thing about the reward of speed that the player can acquire and the good feeling about it, so that we hope that thanks to our feedbacks and the mastery of the abilities that the player is going to obtain, that they feel compelled to go faster and be rewarded by their own ability to move through the space. And there's also probably going to be risk entities from the planet that are dangers. So there's going to be tension around that. I'm going to leave Alois talk about the physics system.
So just to finish your question,
yeah.
So it's like a wipeout. You need to run as quick as possible, maybe take some shortcuts, but you'll be on your own and nobody will be bothering you to push you to fall, to shoot you, or whatever.
So we're going to have threats for the player. The thing is, we still are trying to define exactly what form they're going to take, but we plan on having threats to keep the player moving. And yeah, I don't want to get too specific so that I don't engage ourselves in something that we are not extremely precise about yet, but we think about that internally.
Okay, no, I mean, you'll have a sort of pressure, which is not only time to behind you, I don't know, yeah, whatever, water flowing or missiles or whatever, just to push the player, make him run as fast as possible.
Yeah.
To call this fit. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, hello. So for the technical part, Unreal has a gravity system that is only up and down on the z-axis. And as you saw on the little video we showed you, we want the gravity to be a tool for the game, something that we can use in every direction and on the way we want. So we needed a gravity that can attract certain objects, that can move, that can be in certain direction depending on what mass and what object is pulling other things. So we need something that is completely homemade to, in some way, answer the physical law, attracting object because of the mass, and also react to the quintessence that has the ability to modify and affect the gravity in some ways. That's why we need something that is homemade.
Okay, interesting. I didn't know Unreal was not flexible enough to do this. Thank you, understood.
No problem.
Thank you. I've seen some hands rising, but they disappeared. So I don't know if somebody else wants to ask a question. You are all expecting to test to see the results. Okay.
I have one thing I'd like to.
Yes, go ahead, David. Thank you.
This is David Bowman, Studio Development Director at Creative Assembly. So we've been working with the Unreal Engine, and we've been working with some prototypes involving a similar challenge of working in space. The same team that was working with Alien Isolation was looking into space-related movement, and we found that disorientation was a major issue. Are you concerned about that? Do you have strategies that you want to use to try to tackle that? You have an interesting switch of perspective, but there's definitely people who will find motion sickness issues in a free camera. So just what are your thoughts on that issue?
So we are thinking about it early, because already from the camera prototype that we showed you, some of us in the team could feel the issue cropping up. So that is something that we keep in mind. We are doing research. We are doing research, is behind me, on motion sickness and other type of nausea induced by the camera system. And we are looking attentively to the benchmark games that we took as reference, especially like Outer Wilds and Prey, because we think they managed to do it pretty well, but they are very slow-paced games, not parkour. So also we're looking at Mirror's Edge. But yeah, this is a major consideration, and we really don't want to alienate player that might be interested in the game otherwise. So we are doing accessibility research, inclusivity research, and mostly about motion sickness. It is a big challenge.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, David. No other questions or remarks? No. So, oh, yes, Julie, go ahead.
I just have a little remark. I don't know if you've played Gravity Rush.
Not yet for me, and I don't know if members of the team. We have talked about it though, because it has interesting gravity manipulation systems and falling ups and downs. So we have talked about it. We still have to benchmark it.
Yeah, it's just because I have a strong motion sickness, and just seeing the little GIF of your game just make me nauseous. And they fixed the motion sickness in Gravity Rush, putting the character in a third view. So you can see the character, and that kind of fix the motion sickness, not seeing any point. So maybe it's a clue. So I hope it will help you a bit. I don't know.
Thank you for the idea. We think about it. Thank you.
Grégoire or Sven?
Yeah, hi. Thank you for the presentation. Well, I had a couple questions that have already been answered, so I'm not going to bother you with this. It's just about the whole feeling that you want to convey is this kind of space flow thing, combining a little bit of Mirror's Edge and a little bit of, I even saw Dishonored somewhere in the reference. I'm kind of wondering, to be honest with you, how much you gain from the first-person camera in what you want to achieve compared to the risk that you're taking, to be completely honest with you, because you're going to have 3 months to achieve something that the industry is struggling with. So, yeah, I'm just wondering if you have like maybe contingency and looking at other games that are not using first-person camera. Gravity Rush is actually an example of that. And maybe like how much is the first person camera bringing you? It's not even a question really. It's like, have you thought about this at all? Or are you really into the first person thing?
As far as I'm concerned, yes, we are into the first person. It's from maybe an immersion point of view, and some effects we want to immerse the player in. But yeah, in fact, to be honest, at first we were not all of the team aware of the motion sickness issues, and yeah, we might look into third person, but for now I don't really see the point in switching to another camera. Do you want to add?
If I might add, also we have consideration for, because of, this is my specialty, so I'm a bit biased, but obviously in audio design we have interesting vectors of tension and immersion because of the first person in the helmet, in the spacesuit, because the spacesuit is a big element of the game. And the character in it and the way she hears her body inside the spacesuit is quite important for the feeling of the game, we think. And we have talked about that a lot. So obviously we can find different solutions in third person. It's not impossible, but we think we have to try our best to make it work first. We know it's risky, but it seems more coherent with the rest of our game design decision.
Okay.
Thank you for your concern, though.
Sure. No, it's just because the rest of the game is a little bit high level in your presentation. Like, we don't really know what the goal of the character is. We don't really know what the quintessence is doing. And so if all of this is still a little bit in flux, I would just advise you not to get too attached to things that are ultimately detail oriented, and I understand the sound part completely, believe me, and it is a great thing to have a first person environment and like a closed suit. I can imagine you be really excited about this, but if that's the price of the game experience, you really have to think about that. And I'm done.
Thank you. I think we had one last question from Tristan.
Hey, hello everyone. So I'm Tristan, working at Ubisoft Paris on Ghost Recon, the playtest size of it. So just to add another layer on top of what everyone else already said, if you guys are trying to achieve flow through the 3Cs, through the controls of your character, etc. Playtest early, playtest as soon as you can, because you will face all the issues that my colleagues mentioned about the FPS, basically. So yeah, playtest early and follow the fun. Just see what happens when you try it in FPS, when you try it in third. Just see how it goes, how players are reacting, how they manage, how can they achieve the dangers and everything that you set up for them, and see how it goes. Just follow the fun. Don't stay on one idea only. Try everything you can.
Yes, thank you. We are aware of this challenge, so yeah, thank you for seeing us. And sorry, I didn't answer to the last question. Thank you too. We know this is a challenge, and we want to go through this one. We want to try to do that.
Okay, thank you. We're gonna end the discussion right now, and thank you once again. Congrats for the presentation and the exchange. Thanks for the questions, and yeah, big applause to you. And we will give the place to Echo of the Sky, the last game of today. Est-ce que ça va mieux pour toi, Stéphane? Je pense que non.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the presentation of Echoes of the Sky. We have one remote member, so Valentin, if you are here, just give us a sign.
Here is a sign.
Thank you. Oh, yeah. So, to introduce you to the mood of our game, we propose you to watch a little surprise at the beginning. We're going to put the link on YouTube for the one who needs a better quality.
Travel doesn't become an adventure until you leave yourself behind. I always felt it. Deep down, I knew this day would come. I've always been looking for something else, for something more. I have read so many books and listened to so many people. But now, I want to be the one with the stories to tell. I will see the world, but with my own eyes.
So in a few words, what is Echo of the Sky? So our game is a rhythmic puzzle platformer in third-person view. And in our game, you travel around a fantasy world inspired by Indian culture and Hinduism. You can sing, and while you sing, it transforms the environment around you, and it lets you evolve in marvelous places and landscapes. And finally, you follow the verses of a poem, and thanks to it, you will meet unique people and find your way towards your inner purpose in life. So our main pillars are Indian culture, fantasy, and poetry, and we want these three pillars to be equally shared in the game. Like, we're taking inspiration from Indian culture, but we still want the world to be fantastic and not really a representation of India. Here are representations of the gods from Hinduism that we took for our game to build the world. So on the right, you have the three gods of creation, preservation, and destruction of the world. So they are from the process of it. And on the left, you have their wives. So the world. At first, everything was created by Brahma, thousands of years before our game. And to prevent the soil from succumbing to a terrible poison, Vishnu and Shiva had to destroy the poison part and send the rest to the celestial realm. And after that, the devas vanished into the air and gave their powers to their most faithful followers. Nowadays, most people's beliefs are directed toward the concept of universal soul. And also, people live according to the principles of Purushada, which are built on 4 keys, which are desire, emancipation, and what else? Well, and also believe in the principle of reincarnation. And finally, people are all born with one of the 3 potentials of the devas, which are the voice, so the power of altering the environment while singing, the power of the ear, so it allows you to hear everything around you and to interpret everything quickly. And finally, the power of the touch, which will allows you to feel every impurities in the world just by touching it. So our game is following the journey of Sarah. So Sarah is a 20-year-old woman. She has the power of the voice, and she's a merchant. And we wanted her to be an adventurous and very curious character, very easy to speak with. So to people, she appears as someone friendly, cheerful. But most of all, she's really straightforward. She will not have any problem speaking her mind to people. And she's really determined, stubborn, and reckless, which can lead her to take decisions that could be a bit stupid to others, but really important to her. Her passions, she likes discovering new places, and most of all, she likes reading, meeting people, and being in nature, because all of these things nourish her inspiration, her imagination, and it makes her imagine a lot of things throughout her life. So this is the current state of the character modeling right now.
Thank you. For the art direction, as you saw on the character, we want to give a semi-realistic style to the art direction. For the character, we want something not too realistic, but not too cartoony, and it's the same for the environment. For the environment, we want to keep some realistic proportion, but we want to play on the colors and on the texturing. We did some first tries on the environment with some texturing and a grass shader. So here some screenshot of our work in progress. As you can see on the screen, we want to keep an emphasis on the fact that our world is a mix between the Indian culture and a fantasy world. So yes, so it leads me to the technical part of the graphical part. We are using Blender, Maya, and ZBrush for the modeling and sculpting, but the most important part of the technical aspect is that we are using Substance Designer because we wanted to create our own texturing and materials because we needed to do something by ourselves because we are inspired by the Indian culture and there is a lot of pattern. So, and we are using Unreal Engine. And now I'm going to give the mic to Wissam for the game design.
Thank you. So we have 2 game design pillars, singing and platforming. The singing mechanic must not be a tool in the game, but a toy that is enjoyable by itself. The platforming will be focused on less punishment and frustration over rhythmic platforming appreciation. Now about our OCR loops. We have 2 micro loops. Sorry, just a little error on the presentation. Sing and echo and cross platforms, and 1 mid loop, solve a platforming puzzle that will be presented just after. Our macro loop is to reach the next part of the journey, crossing different levels while gathering poems and power. Let's talk about the moveset. Our moveset for Syra features main movement interactions as run, jump, and double jump. There is also catch-up interactions, sometimes also used for specific puzzles, including a wall stick and a wall jump. We don't want to add more movement as this moveset is complete and familiar enough to be versatile and work with our gameplay. A second point is also that animating characters for new moves is way more expensive than focus on more ways to develop the gameplay and the level design. We will now explain what is our singing mechanic. This echo gameplay is a middle point between The Legend of Zelda, Ocarina of Time, and Wonder Song. An echo is the repetition of a series of chants sung by Syra. It repeats within a puzzle until the puzzle is resolved, or if the player chooses to play another echo. Each chant is associated to an element. There's earth, air, water, fire, and ether, the fifth element. A chant impacts environment in a specific way, depending on its element. For example, the air chant can activate or stop air streams and air mechanisms. But how to create an echo? When arriving to a puzzle platform, the player will need to perform an echo to impact the environment. To do so, they need to enter the echo singing mode, freezing the movement of the platform during this time. The player presses the sing button to enter the echo singing mode, for example, Y. Then the sing menu appears and the camera switches to the sing view. The player holds the A button to start singing. They can release the A button to stop the echo, then press Y to validate or A to retry. Back to the puzzle, the echo is repeating in the scene, visible on top. Depending on the player's input, a chant can be small or big, influencing the strength and the impact on the environment. Here is now a storyboard of the mid-loop, solving a platforming puzzle made with some Unreal assets. So first, you're in front of the puzzles, featuring fire and water pipes. You perform an echo with two chants, a water chant to activate the water pipes and extinguish a fire below them, a silence to give you time to reach the next obstacle, then a fire chant to stop the wildfire and pass through, followed by another silence because you chose to do so. Then you've performed an echo, as shown before, with the water chant and a fire chant. By jumping on top of the temporarily extinguished fire, you've made it to the second part, when the fire chant is now echoing, stopping the wildfire and letting you pass through quickly. You've made it. The echo is still working until you reach the very end of the puzzle, where it ends on a satisfying final melody. Let's finish this game design presentation with the player progression. Sebbag, sorry. The player starts the game with the Earth chant and 2 chant slots. The whole game experience features 8 levels, with the progression based on acquiring new chants and chant slots to complexify interactions and puzzles. And here is the final echo power of Syra, with 5 chants and 6 chant slots. Now I'm going to let Terry talk about the sound design.
Okay, I've looked for game dealing with Indian culture and the sound choices I've taken. That's maybe interesting for our game. So first, the soundscape. It will be a very living and feel-good environment that increase the desire to explore for the players. So it will be a very important that the sound will be realist and with some living aspects. Foley for the character identification and to really feel the materials. SFX is very linked to the gameplay because there are some impact on the environment. For example, you need to have the feedback of the water when you interact with them. And about music, there are 3 pillars: immersion, emotion, and gameplay based. About the exploration phase, you are a 3D music specialized in the map. It's the local Indian music. And emotional music, narration, it's, for example, the music of the teaser at the beginning of the presentation. With Indian, a mix between Indian and fantasy music. And gameplay-based music with voice. The voice is the lead of the music, and it's a good feedback for the gameplay. Now I have first draft test of the music. You can listen it. We have the link in the chat. So this music is for the immersion and exploration phase specialized in the map. I will now let the microphone to Valentin. A remote microphone.
Yes, here's the remote microphone. Hello everyone, and without any transition, we will talk about our target audience. We try to make an archetype of who will be the player who will play our game. And like Syra, the archetypal player is a curious person, eager to discover the big worlds and the beautiful landscapes that hides in our game or in other games like Okami, Firewatch. They love immersion too in the gameplay, and so they tend more to play some role-playing games. For example, Child of Light, who reunites both of what I said before. Then, in terms of demographic, we had some statistical probabilities who gave us some insight. For example, they look like that sort of profile of gamer matches more with women, at least on the answers I got. In terms of region, we saw that Europe and Northern America are the regions of the world who react most to those feelings. In terms of age, we are between 21 and 25, so we decided to cut the pair in half and choose 23. It's easier to retain. And then in terms of gaming, we faced more casual gamers than mid-core or hardcore gamers. For the rest of the presentation, I will let you between the hands of Antoine. Antoine, it's your turn.
Thank you, Valentin. So for the rest, okay. So regarding, we identified the personas that we want to aim. We have first a strong character that is going to be the vessel of a game. She's going to give a lot of feedback on the environment, and she is really going to be appealing in a sense that she is going to give a lot of emotion to the player. We have also the poetic atmosphere transcribed by the music, but also by the environment, the colors, and the designs. And we have the unique core musical gameplay that is the key of our project. So about the positioning that we have, we choose to position a game between three axes: the action, the exploration, and the musicality. And for example, Wonder Song is a really musical game, but a little bit less axis on exploration. And Zelda is more about exploration than musicality. And we have some games also, we benchmark also some games that had between action and exploration, such as Tomb Raider, but that do not include the musical aspect of the game. So about the business plan, we are going for a AAA development. Regarding the core team is working well for now with this model. We are planning to have a premium economical model, and we are looking forward to have a game on PC and Switch. The price will be roughly around 30 euros for now, but that still has to be determined. So to conclude, the risk analysis of a game is that the strength that we have right now is that the gameplay is easy to understand and satisfying to witness in the game. And we also have in the team a strong vision of what we call the Holy Trinity, which is the main character, Syra, the ambience and the gameplay, and we are developing it every day to have a good PMV. The weakness that we can face are the animation that are going to be time-consuming. Regarding everything linked to the character needs to be top-notch. Regarding the main character is going to be the vessel of the interpretation of a game. The game is not dedicated to a public that is looking for action and combat, and that's something that can cost us some audiences, because usually you mix exploration with combat to change the emotion of the player in game. And about the opportunities, we are looking to target the international market that is interested into the Indian culture with this kind of IP, especially with all what's going on right now. And the good advantage that we have is that our game is definitely done for all public. The threats are, of course, the main character, as I told you. The playtests and feedback that are going to be difficult to make in the COVID situation, and we need them just to be sure that we are reaching the right experience for the player. And the second lockdown ordering that can change our whole team organization on the daily work. So this was Echoes of the Sky. We really thank you for your attention, and we are looking forward to answer your question about the project. Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you for this presentation. Do we have first questions? Yes, David.
Hi. So I really liked sort of the watercolor palette that you've chosen. Is that going to be sustained through the project, or is that just your initial pass on this?
While you talking about the concept art or the...
Looking at the concept art, the character, is this going to be the level of detail, the style that you're looking for artistically? Is that going to be much more realistic? Where are you staying? Are you staying in this level of realism, or are you going to go more towards realism?
Yeah, I think I can answer that. The idea is to, as we said, like have like a semi-realistic, not going like full realistic, because of course, realistic character is really common to fall into the uncanny valley, and we don't want that. So we are like planning like have like maybe realistic proportion, but with some stylization and realism. And the thing also is to be like production time-wise. Is like we can focus. It's better to focus, and for example, in stylized, you have more focus on primary forms, for example, and not go into little detail that you can spend like a lot of time in it. And with the talking about texturing, pick like some realistic end for the texturing is also easy for us nowadays with PBR and with Substance Designer or Substance Painter. I think it's like it was like a smart idea to go in that direction, I think.
Okay.
Is all right?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you, David. Grégoire and Sven.
Yeah, hi. I just had a question regarding the music and ecosystem. Am I right to believe that you're going to be filling the beats of the song, basically, and it's going to play in a loop until you have to handle the timing of when the notes are going to affect the environment in the way you're traversing it? Is that it?
Yeah, for each beat, the environment is going to react in the same rhythm. So you have to both choose which element you're going to choose at which time, and it's going to loop through. So even if there is one right solution with the right echo to sing, you can play it more casually and just go through your puzzle, choosing to go little echo by echo.
Okay.
So, okay.
Okay, yeah, I think it's gonna take a little bit of work. I don't think it's a red flag at all. I love the mechanic, but I don't think it's as straightforward as you're making it out to be. Like you're straightforward listing it as a strength of your project, and to be fair, it is, but it's not as understandable as I think you're making it out to be. Especially if you have to anticipate. Like I see you have like a 7 beats bar at the end of the game.
Yeah.
So
it is a very specific mechanic that needs a lot of prototyping and testing, and we're going to begin this right on the next week to be as quick as possible to tweak it and make it enjoyable.
Cool. Can't wait to see it.
What I wanted to say about the strength, if I can, is that once you get the mechanic, it's really easy to play with using the environment you have around. That's why I was putting it as strength in the slides.
Sure, but you have to make it easy, which is not going to be easy.
Definitely, it's difficult to make easy stuff, we know.
Yeah.
I just had a remark about the references, because you quote a lot of references and each time they were different regarding the audience, the inspiration for the gameplay, and beside this, what surprised me the most, and it's not only for your project but everything that what we saw today, is that there is a lack of references about books, especially for people who are trying to make narratives, especially about movies, because trust me, video games is not the best media to tell stories, and we know actually what we are talking about because we made Plague. And beside this, especially for your game, we are the music people. You don't even quote any Indian artist, you don't even quote any movies, but there's the specialist of the musical comedy and stuff like this. And I'm really, really surprised that, and one more time, it's not about only your project, but everything we saw today, what are the references about that?
Yeah, that is true. Our references were based on the gameplay. Yeah, we had something to say?
Yeah, I know what I mean, but if your inspiration to make video games is only video games, the result is going to be poor.
Yeah, definitely. Actually, the pitch of the game was based on an Indian poem, which is called the Meghaduta, or in English, the Cloud Messenger. And it was the main base we used to work on the narrative. And we effectively focused our references in this presentation more on the gameplay and the visual references, but we will make sure to add some literacy and movies about the narrative on the next time.
Good.
So about the music part, we did a whole research about the Indian instrument that we had. We even had a presentation in team to know about what exists, what we can select, and what we will use. And maybe Terry can give you a little bit more insight about this, about the traditional instrument that we are planning to use.
Okay.
Yes, about the music, it will be inspired by Indian culture. So I've done some research about famous musicians like Ravi Shankar. So I don't present you today for this presentation, but it's only the result of some references on the music. So for the next presentation, I will show my references in music and other.
Yeah, but I guess it's a copy of your game, right? Music.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Marion?
Okay, thank you for your presentation. I really like that your game has a different feeling and a different target audience than what we've seen so far. It's quite original. Considering this and considering in your presentation, you really put the music and like the puzzles that you need to solve with the chants at the center of your gameplay. Basically, my question was, what is the platformer part for? Because it feels to me like this is a huge amount of work that you're adding, and that is not actually core to your game, and that might actually add difficulty and not really please the kind of public you're targeting. So what does it bring?
Yes, so for now we were focusing on the gameplay before level design to be sure that the singing mechanic was ready to be prototyped. But the platforming is adding the more casual way of playing, like a Mario 3D game. Having a moveset we have some catch-up interaction helps to add more depth into what the player can do, not only sing and go through environments. So, for example, if a casual player has some difficulties with the musical aspect of the puzzles and just want to enjoy a good adventure, the platforming will be both obstacles, but also, with the moveset, a way to counteract the difficulty of the music by having some catch-up interactions like wall jump, which will help you to reach some platforms if you don't manage to get the right riddle for the puzzle.
Okay, I'm waiting to see how you will combine those two things without one eating the other.
Yeah, that's a big challenge. Thank you for reminding us.
Thank you, Marion. Stéphane?
Yes, my question is related to other question. Don't you think that you need to have something which is specialized in Indian culture, from popular culture, Bollywood, to traditional one to help you? And I say if you make the game, but even for your student project, my advice is find somebody somewhere in the University of Poitiers or around Engine who really this to help you. And I have a second question, which is related to the first one. From a marketing point of view, do you plan to sell your game in India?
Thank you for your question, Stefan. I'm going to start the first one first. So we already have some contact to give some feedback on the game. We're just waiting for it to be showable, if I can say, with all the features in the game. I have an Indian friend I know for now many years that is ready to give feedback about the game, about it. She's living in India for maybe now 15 years, so I guess she knows the stuff and what's happening right there. And about a more informal one, I'm going to a kebab often, and the guy is Indian. And I talked with him about the game, and he's also ready to give some intel about it. So we already thought about the different feedback that we can get, especially from the local people. And about selling the game in India, we still need to do more advanced benchmarking about the game. But for example, there's another game that has some similarities with us that is developed by an Indian studio. The game is called Raji, if it was in the benchmark. And I really look forward to contact the team and to know how they anticipate the reaction of the public there. So yeah, this is still work in progress about the feedback, and we're just waiting for a draft of the game to be understandable by the people outside.
Thank you.
Pleasure.
Thank you, Stéphane. Frédéric?
Yes, I have one question about the songs you sing. Basically, you talk about elements. Each note has an element linked to it. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. An echo is a series of chants which are linked to an element, and those 5 elements are based on the Hinduism way of seeing the nature.
Okay, so does it mean that if one note is one element, at some point you can create a 5 note long melody, which results in 5 elements cohabitating together? Or is it just one big song, just creating one specific action from an element?
Yeah, for each.
And other songs are not valid.
Yeah, for each beat of the song, you have one element only, so it adds the rhythm mechanic in your moving during the platforming. So you cannot combine elements to have some specific interactions. Although, like we've seen on the storyboard, if you have a fire blocking you, you can either choose to control the fire and stop it, or control the water to extinguish the fire. So there's not always one way to make it work. It can be a little bit systemic and helps to not always have only one solution on each puzzles.
Okay, so just to say that you should really pay attention about the possible combinatories you will get from having too many elements that you can impact at the same time, that could have an impact between each others at the same time. It could be really complex at some point, so maybe you should start with only, I don't know, 2 elements, 2 simple elements, because this is really something difficult to get.
That's definitely a risk of the systemic gameplay we're going through. Yeah.
So start simple.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Frédéric. Davy?
Yeah, one question and one remark. So Davey, CEO of Popscreen Game, one remark, and I insist like the other, you're making two games, which is complicated to balance, and you need two games to connect to make one good big game. So it's like some party game and all kind of mini games. It's very, very difficult to balance and put the proper focus on one side and the other. But it's been said already. My question is about your budget. You're talking about the AAA production for €30 title. What do you mean by AAA game? What's for you behind this? Quality, budget, marketing?
Okay, AAA, not AAA, just to be sure. Because AAA, you know, is definitely not the scope of a game. It's AAA. So we are. I don't know exactly what you understood and what was the question after, but the idea is to stay as a core team as we are, and to propose a vertical slice. And after, once we will really have defined the minimum viable product and the challenges it applies, I will be able to give you some more feedbacks about how we are looking forward to do the production.
Oh, that's fine. I heard the AAA, so my bad. So, triple I makes sense. Yeah, thank you.
No problem.
Thank you, Davey. I think that Grégoire and Sven may have another comment or question.
Yeah, it was more of a cautionary note to echo what Marion said and precisely how you responded to it, because what makes your concept unique, I think, is this whole music and echo song system, which I think you could really make something great out of. But when posed the question of how it merges with the platforming, you almost said that the platforming is a way to shortcut it and bypass it. And I think like you shouldn't sell out this concept for the platforming concept, because I mean, platforming has been done before, you know. And then the music stuff though could be unique, and even if you were to move the platforming out of it, you could have something really charming and really interesting from your music system.
Okay, so maybe I've expressed myself a little bit differently than what I would have said. The platforming helps the musical singing challenge when people have issues with it, but it goes as a symbiotic way. As when people have issues with the platforming, the singing music helps it too, to make it easier to go through. So it's more about how Davey said it as two mini games cooperating to go through the experience, and as a big challenge to make it work together. But of course, yeah, the singing mechanic is the more original part of the gameplay, because platforming is like 40 years old. So the main point of our gameplay is going to be to have a newer way to enjoy platforming with a specific switch, which is our singing mechanic, which will be a toy. So even some casual people will more be enjoying the game, just making some music and enjoying the music reaction from it, and not even going through the puzzles. But for those people, we need to help them to go through the whole experience, to give them the narration. And for people more interested into platforming, it's going to be more of a try-out gameplay, where the music part is going to be just a tool to help them go through. And I hope that the combination of familiar gameplay of platforming and original, but sometimes cryptic singing mechanic gameplay is going to be working together and help multiple players enjoy the game the way they want to.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe just to finish, you could consider your platforming like a very advanced evaluated menu, where the progression is very linear, and the singing is really the core part, because indeed I think you have something very interesting on this in the Indian style, which connects well with what you want to try on the puzzle and singing.
Oh yeah, there's some linearity to it, but we also want to work as a kind of like the Zelda way of making dungeons. As you go through a level, then you gather a new power, like a new chant slot or a new chant, and then have some backtracking possibilities in the linear, counterparting the linearity of the level design.
Yeah, my point was, and you're right, and if you can make the two cohabitate, it's great. My point is, during production, sometimes you have to make decisions on to what to cut and what to keep. And I'm telling you, I think you should try as much as you can to keep the music part. And if you have to cut things to make it through like tighter deadlines and whatnot, I think, you know, the platforming is what is going to cost you a lot for arguably not a big bang for the buck.
Yeah, definitely. We'll take that into account. Thank you very much.
Yeah, and basically, you will have at some point, you will have to give priority to one of the pillar to the other one. So what comes first? That's the real question.
Yeah.
When you check the Resident Evil series, horror came first for the first episode, and then horror came third after action and puzzle, and horror came third. That was what has been decided.
Yeah.
So in case you have to make a choice, you need to know from the advance what's going to be the first, what's going to give the priority.
Yeah, that's definitely true. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all. I think we've been through all the questions, so maybe we can thank them again. So thank this last team again. Congrats. And big applause, big round of applause to all the teams this afternoon and all the teams of today. You've done a great job, all of you. Congrats. Thanks a lot for the jury who asked a lot of questions. And I think we had very rich and interesting discussion. So thank you for that. And maybe I can give the mic to Marion for last word for this first presentation, this first round of presentation.
Thank you. So congratulations to all of you. I've been extremely impressed with where you got, like how far you are already on your design, and for some of you, you've already got like prototypes for things. I'm really curious to see how this is going to evolve, because I think it's going to evolve quite a lot for some projects. You've all been extremely ambitious and have proposed very different things. So really, like, I'm just very impressed with all of you. And I don't know in which ways I'm going to be able to help you from now on. But like now I'm on your Discord, and I don't know, if you want to talk to me for anything, I will gladly help you. So thanks.
Thanks, Marion. I think that if you want to, all of you, if you want to go on with discussion with one team or another after having seen all this presentation, feel free to go to the Discord channel and chat with them. We got some more time today, so they are here to answer your question or keep discussing with you in a less formal way. So let us know if you have any problems getting connected to them. We are waiting also for your feedbacks in the evaluation sheet. So if you may keep some time to think of it and complete and fulfill them before sending them back to us, please send them back to either May or me, and then we're gonna pass them to the students. Do not hesitate to leave you a contact if you want if you agree that the students can exchange with you on the elements you share with them. I don't know if you have further questions or if some of you wants to add some more remarks or reactions. I don't know if Axel is there, if he wants to make a final reaction.
Yeah, I follow the presentation, and thank you, Catherine, for mastering this show. And thank you all for coming and for looking at all those projects. And I'm sure they will go on the right way, and we will have surprise as every year. Thank you
For
again.
sure. Thanks also to Florian, Javier, and all the team that helps for making this possible. And thanks to the students first. Thank you.
Bye.
For today, it's okay. It's over for this part of the presentation.
Catherine,
go ahead.
Can you remind us the next date?
Yes. So for the people who wants or are registered for the Engmin DC, so it's gonna be the 14th of December, if I'm not mistaken. And then for the next meeting together for the jury, it will be in January. It will be the 15th of January. So keep the date in your agenda, and also for the final presentation, the 18th of February. And we look forward to see the progression of this work, and we look forward to have your impression of this progression. Thanks once again, and bye-bye for now.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Merci, bravo à tous.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you.
See you soon.